Hello and welcome to my tutorial on how to make an operating system from scratch. Over the past week or so I've been learning how to do this myself and figured I could make tutorials detailing how I've been doing it as I go. So just keep in mind the way I do things might not be the best way to do them, but if it works for me it theoretically should work for you as well. So in order to get our operating system to load up on our target device we need a bootloader, and the bootloader that we make has to be made in assembly. So the first thing we need to do is to download a assembly compiler or an assembler. So I've gone to NASM, we'll just go to download and download this one. I'll grab the installer. I'm on Windows. If you're on Linux or Mac OS, then there's download links for those as well. So we need to install NASM. This installer is currently running as an unprivileged user. That is okay. Install everything that they have to install to whichever directory you want to install it to. So theoretically, if we open up command prompt and type in NASM, it doesn't work. Alright, so you need to open the environment variables. Alright, so we put the path into the path variable, close that up, and then theoretically we go to command prompt, type NASM, and here we go, NASM fatal no input file specified. So it's found NASM, but we don't have a file. Right, let's get on to the next step, actually programming our bootloader. So what we need to do is create a new empty C++ project. We are writing in assembly right now, but making it in a C++ project will help us later on down the line once we've moved out of assembly and into actual C territory. Right, so we want to make a new project, operating system, press OK. Right, go to source files, add new item. Then we want bootloader.asm, and we go to utility text file, just make sure it has the right file extension, bootloader.asm. Add that. There we go. Now we can write our assembly. Now the first thing we need to do, a bootloader. We don't want to do anything fancy here. We just want to do something simple like jump JMP, sorry, and then $, which will, that's an infinite jump to itself. So our program will load, get to this jump command, and it will continue looping just as it is. Right, so next thing we need to do is a bootloader needs to be 512 bytes in size. So we need to do times 510. I'll get to why that is in a second. And then this little symbols DB0. So up to byte 510, it'll put in it'll declare a byte 0, so it'll just fill up our file with zeros. Then at the end we need to declare a word, which is 2 bytes, 0x55AA. And that little bit of bytes at the end of our file is how the system knows that this is actually a bootloader. So we save that and move on to the next step. Now, if we actually want to run our bootloader in any sort of easy environment without actually loading it onto our computer ourselves, we need an emulator. One good emulator is called Bochs, B-O-C-H-S. So we'll quickly go and download that. Download current. And again, I'm on Windows, so I'll download the Windows binary, which is this one here, Windows 64. Install that one. I've already got it installed, but I'll install it again just for the sake of the tutorial. Just leave it default, that's fine. So I'll just install it to my desktop. I'll make a new folder, Bochs, and we'll install it there. Alright, we don't want to run it yet, and we don't want to see the readme file. Right, so now that we have Bochs installed, it's time to assemble that little program we wrote before. Remember this little program with the 3 lines? So, just to make things easy, we'll go into a text document and we'll go into that. We're going to make a batch file, so we need NASM and the name of our file, bootloader.asm. The format is binary, so bin, and the output is bootloader.bin. Actually, we won't save it as .bin, we'll save it as .flp so that we can make it as a floppy disk thing to load into Bochs. So we'll we want to pause so we can see if we have any errors. So we'll save that as compile asm.bat for a batch file, and we'll run that. No file or directory, and you want to know why? Because this needs to be inside of our source directory. There we go. So we'll run that from here, and voila, we have bootloader.flp. Now we'll go back to Bochs, run Bochs, go to disk and boot, set up type of floppy drive 1.2 M, and our image is what we have in here. We'll set it to all files. We can load up bootloader.flp 1.2 and inserted. So we'll save that. Save the configuration file for Bochs source, that's fine. And then theoretically, if we press start, it will not crash. No bootable device. Okay, I've done something wrong. Right, what I did wrong, we need to go back into our code, and it's not 55AA, it's AA55. So we'll compile that once more time and jump back in, and here we go. It has not crashed. It's booted from floppy. We now have successfully loaded up a program onto our BIOS. Yay! Sorry if that was a lot to take in. It's a very in-depth topic, and I probably could have explained it a lot better, but we have now loaded a program onto our BIOS, or into our memory, and we're running it, and yeah, that's the first step. I'll leave it there for now. In the next video, I'll go on to actually writing some assembly code and getting our operating system set up. Alright, thanks for watching. Goodbye.